All right, here we go. Okay, so today I'm going to take you through the new Demia dashboard. So here you can see what is our all projects page. This is where if you have multiple projects, you'll see them listed in like a top to bottom list here, but we have one demo project available so that we can walk you through. This is based on our Molina biogas plant, which is an anaerobic biodigester based in Molina, Chile. It was a project that we piloted with the Environment and Climate Change Canada organization, where they gave us grant funding to work with the Ministry of Environment in Chile, as well as VSPT, which is a fairly large global wine conglomerate, one of the top 20 wine producing conglomerates in the world. And they funded and developed a biogas plant to manage all of the waste from their wine production. So this is a really interesting use case where they actually take all the waste from the wine production, they bring it to this biogas plant, they capture all the emissions through an accelerated decomposition process that the anaerobic biodigester enables, and then they use that gas to create energy that then goes back to the facility to produce wine. So through this process, they're actually able to produce over 60% of the electricity required for their wine production. There's also a number of other benefits. The feedstock after the emissions have been captured is repurposed and used as an organic fertilizer. So they take their old wine waste and they reuse that as fertilizer after the emissions have been processed, putting it on the crops again. And then the liquid that comes from the process can also be used as an organic pesticide and liquid fertilizer. So they actually take that and they spray the crops with it as well to help protect them and accelerate the growth of their wine. So there's a lot of circular systems here. Really interesting project that we got to work with a few years ago to test out digital MRV. And now we've been able to bring this and the data sets that we generated into Demia as our initial demo use case so that we can start to show everybody how our new platform is working. And so you can come here and you can click on the dashboard. Take a second to load. And so you'll see here, here's the project, here's the project type, there's the methodology, project developer, we have project ID. There's a number of different things on the user activity. We're going to start to populate that with some insights and other things here in short-term future as well. Then you have an overview on what the annual estimation on emissions reductions it looks like based on the current data that we've been able to process from the system, as well as what are the emissions reductions over the last 30 days. So we can see this facility essentially captured about 193 tons of CO2 and methane, or CO2 equivalent, as the methodology breaks it down. And this over the course of the year would break out to about 2,300 tons of emissions capture for the year. So that's the equivalent to how many credits they would produce. We also have what we call a data confidence score. This is something that we co-developed with Dell and Intel. We've open sourced it to the Linux Foundation. And I'll show you a little bit more in depth on what that looks like now that we have this amazing and beautiful new platform to dig in a little bit more on what is a confidence score, where does it come from, like how do we generate it? So we have a lot of interesting things there as well. Front page, making it really easy to navigate. We do everything through a digital twin. So you can see a 3D rendering of the facility here. You can click through the facility as well. And so this is a different angle on the facility. You can see we've got 4 data producing elements here. And that's what takes you back there. And so we have 3 data sources on this side too. So this is where feedstocks dropped off. That's where bulk feedstocks dropped off in the back in the yellow zone. And the liquid feedstock from fisheries and other areas is dropped off in the pink location. And all those feed into these 2 silos, which are the biodigesters. So let's come in here. Click this, it takes you into a close-up. And then you can click the plus and it shows you what is the data source that we're capturing from this location. So it's pretty intuitive interface on how to navigate and understand where the data is coming from in the first place. It's meant to be really familiar for auditors. And then you can see this is grape harvest, grape harvest waste. So we have view device, we come in, we look at the device, and you can see we got grape harvest. This is what the actual waste looks like. This is what we're capturing. This is a manual data point, so you'll see the data confidence is pretty low. There's a lot of room for error. It's hard to have accuracy with this kind of measurement because it's not sensor based. So they measure the amount of tons that they have of this large feedstock, and then they put it into a spreadsheet, which we host locally in the Dell Edge device that we have on site. And then we pull that from this data from the spreadsheet's API. So anytime they update the spreadsheet, we pull that data as soon as that update is published. And so we can pull that in pretty much near real time whenever that data point is published. So let's see. Let's go here. And so if you look at the rest of the data sources, you can see we've got 5 data sources at this location. We've got the digesters, got the grape harvest, the overall feedstock, and then we've got 2 flow meters that we're also monitoring. The flow meters are sensor driven, so it's autonomous. It's very rapid capture. We can capture in up to like minute by minute intervals. With this project, we're doing 15-minute intervals. And so we have a pretty high level of confidence that because we can see the data, it's very consistent. There's no crazy flags with it. If there's any connectivity issues or anything, we're able to see that as well. And so we would be instantly aware of any kind of manipulation that may be happening at the data entry point as well. So if we come in and we look, we can see, okay, this is what that sensor looks like. Here's a number of different points on what that sensor is, serial number, like has it been calibrated, when was it installed, things that are really relevant to the auditing process. And you come down, you can see individual data points on what's the gas flow coming through this biodigester process. And then if we go to the log, you can see all the history of various data points that we've gotten. If you click on them, you can see these are the annotations for this specific data point. So these annotations are metadata, and we use this metadata to generate the confidence score. We're starting to refine this openly in what we call a trust schema. And so we can start to standardize one from a security and an operations perspective. How do we know the data is quality? Things like calibration, encryption, how's the data transferred, how's it managed, how's it secured, is it automated, is it manual, is there a signature on the data from the source so that we know that the data is coming from this device or this location. What are some basic things that we can understand that help us trust what's actually happening from this data source and this specific data point? And so you see there's a number of things here, and we'll continue to advance this, and we'll continue to add to our trust schema to increase the accuracy and relevance of what the data confidence actually looks like. So that's for a single data point. So the data confidence scales up to where every data point has a confidence score embedded with the metadata that we track. And then every sensor then has a cumulative confidence score based off the data that we've been able to pull. So the more data points we have, the more trust we have, and the higher data confidence should be reflected in that. And then the project as a whole has a comprehensive confidence score based on all of the data sources that we're analyzing as well. So we're getting really granular with, can we trust this data? Is it trustworthy? Is it good, high quality data? What can we do to increase the quality of this data? And then all of that feeds into the Demia analytics engine, which is based on the methodologies. We look at the methodologies that are already established as standards, we codify those, and then you can come in and you can see exactly what's happening in real time in alignment with the standards that are already in place. And so we can see this is the emissions capture. Got some general statistics here. This is where the anaerobic digester is capturing. This is like the weighted biogas. There's a number of different things that are relevant to the auditing process to ensure that the end result of this much carbon or this much CO2 equivalent is being captured and this many credits need to be created is as accurate and high integrity as possible. So we're really trying to like take an in-depth look at what's happening, automate that. All this data is then secured. And I can show you that as well. If we come into one of the individual units, oh, went too fast for it. Okay, populate, log, go to this. And then if you click address, boom, 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 you can see the data is stored on an immutable ledger. Once it's published, it can't be tampered with, and you can't read the data. It's all encrypted. The only way for you to actually read the data is if the organization that owns the data is giving you the authority or the access to read that data and decrypt it. So we really focus on how do we secure that? How do we do sovereignty with the data? How do we ensure that the organizations are the ones that are giving the authority for you to view the data in the first place? And really trying to factor in as many customer considerations as possible to make sure that what we're building here is really focused on the customer. What do they need as a project developer? How do we make their job as easy as possible when it comes to reporting, working with auditors, working with certifiers, and getting the data that they need to have high integrity credits? There's a lot of great things that come from this, where you can have higher integrity credits. You can have faster iterations on issuing credits. So we're working with the gold standards and others on taking what's an annual process for credit generation and turning it into a quarterly process. So we're going to actually be piloting this year, taking data through our infrastructure in this model with the kind of projects that we have lined up for our customers, bringing it into a remote auditing process. So a VVB or an auditor will actually access data through our platform. They'll verify and validate what happens to the data and what's happening on site on the platform, and we'll refine this platform and the auditing process and tools with their input. And then they'll publish that verification and validation report, which we'll store in the project's documentation portal. And so you'll come into the documentation portal, you'll see the monitoring report, you'll see all the project documents like the PDDs and other documents that are relevant for the certification process. And you'll also see the auditing or the verification and validation reports. And then once it gets certified, you'll see the certification documents in there. Everything will be in one place. The relevant stakeholders can access it extremely easily. And this can streamline the whole complicated process of how can we enable a biogas plant like this one to just prove what it's doing, get its incentives to scale up how it's doing it, and build more biogas plants and scale up their operations and their company as a whole so that they can accelerate the impact they're creating along with the timelines that we all have established as various goals. So I'll stop there. That's our quick overview. I'm going to start doing these probably every 2 weeks. But we just launched this yesterday. I'm super proud of the team and the work they've done with it. I think it just looks amazing. It's really excellent. The level of detail that's gone into it and the intuitiveness from my perspective, it just feels really natural to how to navigate it. And we've gotten a lot of great feedback this week. We're at Collision Conference in Toronto, where we got to showcase the dashboard and the new platform for the first time to new customers and new investors. And we've just gotten a ton of positive feedback on what we're doing here. So I'm going to publish this now and hopefully get some community feedback on it and keep moving forward. So thanks.